You guys know we always love to bring you very special guests. Well, today is the specialist of our special guests. We are so excited to introduce to you guys today Heidi D'Andraia. Now, let me just fill you in. Heidi is PHYSIQUE's studio operations leader. She sits on our leadership team, and there is not enough that we could say about this woman. She is absolutely incredible. We are excited to introduce her to you today. And Corrie-Beth, can I build this up anymore?
She is an outstanding mom. The way that clients know her best is as their personal trainer at our headquarters studio. And also she has the best arms in all of Pure Physique. She is the mom of 3 outstanding kids. She's got an incredible husband. They're a big sports family. They have the coolest dog in the world. And I personally love just how active they are. Between sports and hiking and skiing and lacrosse and everything else that they do. So welcome to the show, our very own Heidi.
Thank you, Mike and Corrie-Beth. I'm super excited and very honored to be here today.
Well, we're excited to have a conversation with you because, your background is unique. And, it was interesting before we got on, you and I were saying that we don't often think that for you and I in particular, we have particularly, clever stories or something that comes off inspiring. But yet at the same time, I know that your story actually will speak to a lot of women today. So that being said, fill everybody in on where you grew up. What was your life like growing up? And how did we arrive here?
All right, well, where it all began. I grew up in Niskayuna, New York, upstate New York, and I went to a very small private all-girls school, Albany Academy for Girls. I am the youngest of 4, and my entire family was always involved in sports. My 2 older sisters and my older brother played sports their whole lives. My parents were very active. So I definitely, for as far back as I can remember being involved in sports as a family. Going to practice and being active was just part of our lives always. Definitely became more competitive with sports through high school and into college, continued playing lacrosse. It was always a passion, being active, working out. Even in high school, I started lifting weights, so it was going to practice, and in addition to that, I was always looking for extra ways to be better, to be stronger, to be faster, and I loved it. I've always felt that was a gift, loving sports and being surrounded by sports and being in a family that was active and supportive of a healthy, active lifestyle. So to me, it was something that was always a natural part of my life and what I did in a day. As I went on to college, again, always a passion and interest. Graduated from William Smith with a sociology degree, knew I wanted to go into the fitness world for a profession. So at that time, decided to go on and get my master's in exercise physiology at Southern Connecticut State University. While I was there, I began working in corporate fitness, which was fantastic. Did everything from teaching group exercise classes to training people, developing programs for professional business people working at GE at the time. And then from there, I sort of segued on to training people in their homes, also very fun, wide variety, worked with all kinds of people, and we did all kinds of different types of exercise. Moving on from training people in their homes, got married and started a family, and that rolled into my life with my children. So kind of stepped back from training a little bit, but continued with a lot of group exercise, still maintained that active, healthy lifestyle where fitness was always part of my life. So through, as I went from being a student to a young professional to being married and a mom, I always felt like exercise was like an anchor in my day. And when I wasn't training for a sport, I still sort of felt like it was important. I like to think of it almost as like recess for adults. Like you need to have a time in your day that you're active. So not everybody enjoys the same type of activity, but I've always felt like it was important to do something. So I found, passion in helping other people find a way to enjoy being active and to remain healthy and to get the benefits of exercising. When my kids were babies, I discovered stroller strides. So that was my way of, I didn't want to work all day, but I wanted to be able to still be in that exercise world. And so for those of you who are not familiar with stroller strides, it's a very fun exercise program when you literally have your kids with you for the entire workout. The kids are in strollers, and it's, it's a lot of fun. But again, it was sort of an outside of the box way to stay active and to keep fitness in my life. You know, moving forward from stroller strides ultimately led me to PHYSIQUE, which has been an amazing match. I found PHYSIQUE when Corrie-Beth's mom was actually my children's preschool teacher, which is amazing. So I was bringing my oldest to preschool, and she said, you should go check out PHYSIQUE, and I did. And, you know, long story short, I'm still there today. Absolutely love it. I love the time efficient 30-minute workout. It's such an amazing model for busy people, for busy moms. And it's an amazing model for people who love fitness and for people who hate fitness, because like I always say, you don't have to love it, but it's important to do it.
If I could just stop you there for a second, you just said something really important, which is like it's great for people who love fitness and people who don't. So for you, when you were growing up, I mean, do you remember a point at which exercise became more than just something that you were doing for sport? Like it became a real passion. Like this is just what I enjoyed doing.
I always remember through playing sports loving practice. Like I loved going to practice. I loved training off season. Like as I got a little bit older and I was in high school and I was really motivated by becoming like the best athlete I could be, I was always looking for ways to get better, faster, stronger, and always seeking ways to train during the off season. And I really enjoyed it. I always felt like I loved pushing my body. I loved the endorphins that kick in. I loved the mental like break or release depending on what's going on. To me, it was a great like coping mechanism. I went through many years where I loved endurance running. So to go out for a run and just kind of push your body in that way, very therapeutic for me. So yeah, I would say middle school is probably where I really remember like developing a passion for sport. And again, watching my sisters and watching my brother compete in sports. They're older than me, so felt like I was always striving to be better on the field mostly, but it gave me a lot of personal satisfaction to succeed and to feel how, my body would feel when I would push it in that athletic, spectrum.
I think it's amazing. And your story is always one that I've admired because I have the opposite story of both of you. I never played sports. I skied, which was non-team sport. It was, I was competing against myself outside of my school. How do you feel like that, having that growing up really has helped you in your adult life?
For one thing, I feel like it laid this groundwork. Like I said, for me, it was just always part of my day. Like I cannot remember a time in my life when being active was not part of my day. So it's always been a non-negotiable, and it's been something I do. So again, I feel that was a huge gift and a blessing that I love being active. And I've always, I think at an early age, I was able to experience how good it can make you feel to be active and the health benefits of that. And the community and doing sport with other people is an incredible experience. So yeah, I'd say again, as far back as I can remember, it was just kind of like embedded. Like it's always been a non-negotiable for me. And I will tell other people, like you can change how many days you're doing it, how long you're doing it, when you're doing it, what type of exercising you're doing. But to me, exercising is like truly the best gift you can give yourself. And that should be, in my opinion, a non-negotiable component of everybody's lives.
Well, that, segues really nicely though into this conversation around when you get out of college, right? You're going the corporate fitness route. Now you have children, and you don't have quite the same schedule that you used to. And I just think it's funny because you, to me, have always been like the poster child of like, no matter what, I'm going to get it done. When we met, your exercise regimen looked very different from what it is today. So even though you had children and you were dedicated to your fitness, I mean, just walk everybody through what your workout regimen looked like back then.
Okay, so back then, if we'll consider that, I would say from high school into college, probably all the way until I had kids, and even segueing a little bit after, it's always 6 days a week, always cardio and strength training. I did always do strength training and did start strength training in high school. Strength training, I would do a lot of like breaking up my body parts, but I would lift and do cardio 5 days a week. And then usually my weekend workout was just a long cardio session. Now, again, a lot of that ingrained, I believe, from being an athlete, where it's always the volume is a lot. You're always doing more than the average just to stay healthy, right? Because you're training for something specific. So there's a lot of double sessions and 2 or 3 hour workouts for practice. So I think that was ingrained in me as something that's like what you need to do to stay healthy, to stay strong. That's a normal volume of exercise. After having the kids, there was definitely sort of I will call it like a phase 1 shift, new appreciation for time, new appreciation for my body. I suddenly didn't have 2.5 hours to go spend at the gym. And it was, let me put my baby in the stroller and go for a quick run or stroller strides, or when Nicholas was little, set him next to the treadmill and I'd run as many miles as I could until he woke up. So literally just trying to get it in whenever I could. But that was sort of my first scale back a little bit. I at least had more of an appreciation of every little bit it counts, and maybe I can't spend as much time, but I'm still going to do something. I would say 6 days a week religiously, I would do that. Coming to Pure Physique, I will say my whole and where I am today, I have completely shifted. As I have gotten older, I also have a new appreciation for injuries and wear and tear and what is necessary and what is beneficial versus what is too much and what is, tearing your body down instead of building your body up, I think is the biggest thing. So now I'm an avid follower of my 3 30-minute strength training workouts. And on those days I strength train, I don't do anything else. I mean, if it's a beautiful day and I want to go for a walk or something, I will, but I no longer will do cardio on those days at all. And then on the other days, which is usually a Tuesday, Thursday, I will move and do something because, again, I still think of that as that recess, that therapeutic movement. So I may go for a walk or a jog, but my intensity level is way back. And it's much more listening to my body based on how I feel, as opposed to feeling so programmed that I have to do 6 days a week. It's got to be, anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes of cardio followed by my strength training. I'm in it for the long game now. I want to live a long, healthy life and not tear my body down.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that it's such a very cool paradigm, right? You have this foundation that exercise is a non-negotiable. It's always interesting to go to the playground or recess, as you may think, and the kids are climbing and jumping and swinging and hanging, and the parents are sitting on a bench. And that always has blown my mind from when our kids were little. I'm like, hold on. We went from whatever level of exercise we did to now absolutely none. And I think you having that as a non-negotiable, this is part of the foundation, this is what I need to feel good, it shifts the normal American mindset of, I was an athlete, now I don't have to be. I was in shape, now I'm a parent. The fact that you've carried that throughout your entire life is what I think is one of the most impressive things about you, but also realizing it doesn't have to be to the extent or the amount that it was previously. How do you feel like that has impacted you in raising your kids?
I definitely think it's helped me to hopefully be a role model to them in just the importance of being active. I think teaching them the importance as they get older to listen to their bodies. I think when you're young, again, you're programmed to listen to your coach and to just follow, which you can do when you're young. You can get away with a lot more activity and sport at a very high level. But I think, if I could really teach them one thing, it's just the importance of their health and the ability to move and enjoy movement and to be healthy is everything. So, again, teaching them to just always find time and to find something that they enjoy doing, and that there may be days that they don't want to do it and they don't love it, but it's still important to have it to always be a part of their life and their schedule.
Tell us a little bit about your kids, because all 3 are avid athletes. All 3 play multiple sports and ski, and you have been in Pure Physique many times, many weeks, many months, working out with your oldest, who's not in preschool anymore, by the way.
Yes.
He's
so literally came to Pure Physique when Nicholas was starting preschool, and he is now 17, and he is a junior in high school. So that's pretty wild. Alana is a sophomore, and she's 15, and then Rocco is 13, and he's in 7th grade. And I officially started training at Pure Physique when Rocco started in preschool, and when he enrolled as a student was when I started my journey with Pure Physique. So yes, it's been a lot of years. And they do all play sports. The boys both play football. They play lacrosse. Rocco plays basketball. Alana plays field hockey. She also plays lacrosse. Alana and Nicholas ski, and Rocco snowboards. So we've got a lot going on. And Rocco is a sort of a newly avid biker. So that's his new passion.
It's amazing. I mean, it really is amazing. And the involvement that you and your husband have had in the kids' lives and their sports and running sports committees. And I mean, there's so much that you guys have done. I think it's an incredible legacy that you have brought from growing up into the lives of your kids. And, you think, we don't often think about how are my grandkids, great grandkids, but really the long-term picture is generationally thinking about, what our actions today can do. And I think we don't often put ourselves there. It's just the day-to-day. It's the daily minutia of laundry and stresses and things. You're building a legacy for your family lineage, and it's really awesome.
Well, can we go there for a moment? Thank you.
I can go there for a moment.
I appreciate that. Because I think that I'm going to say Heidi and I have seen a lot of former athletes come into Pure Physique. And they are completely out of shape. And I think a lot of it has to do with what had been ingrained in our minds growing up as athletes, which is you practice hard, you practice all the time. And the moment I think, especially college athletics gets taken away from you, there's no more games, there's no more anything, there's hardly any more competition. And for a lot of athletes, that is the time in which they just give up on all the exercise, all the sport. And that's kind of why I asked you earlier, when did the passion click? Because there's those athletes who have a passion for the practice and the working out, right? And that gets ingrained in them. So it's a natural progression after college. Like, well, I'm never going to stop doing this. This was the part that I really enjoyed. But we see the other athlete who now they just stopped altogether. And they have no idea how to get back to that. And a lot of it is because of what has been ingrained in terms of how much they need to do. So what do you say to that female athlete that walks into Pure Physique and says, Heidi, I used to be an athlete too. I played in college, but like all this is gone. I just can't keep doing what we used to do.
I think to that person, one, I think there's a lot of the burnout, right? So some people get to the end of that road and they're like, oh, thank gosh, no one's telling me when I have to practice, how long I have to practice, that I have to get up early and do it. But to that person, I think it's also important for them to remember what it feels like to be that athlete. And like I always say, like, you got to tap back into that inner athlete, and you do not have to go to practice 6 days a week, be on the field for 2 hours or 3 hours, but you can still like get back to that person that you were. Again, tapping into that inner athlete by exercising, again, with the Pure Physique model, 3 times a week, 30 minutes. You're going to feel strong. You can remember, I mean, every athlete knows how it feels to feel in shape and how good it feels. And there's many times when I'll be watching my kids play sports, and I've said to my sister more than once, like, I'll watch them run down the field and like, you remember how it used to feel to just sprint down that field, like how awesome that feels. You can still feel that way by tapping into the intensity of different exercise, and it doesn't have to be so time consuming and so taxing. And so, there comes a point where doing all that just leaves you drained. And I think, just thinking about where I was trending, I would do these long workouts when I was no longer playing sports, and it would feel awesome when I was doing them or right after, but then hours later, I would find like I was so drained and be like, that's awesome. I ran for an hour, but now I need to take a nap. So I think discovering that there's ways to still feel strong and healthy without feeling like you're putting your whole life into spending all that time in the gym. And I think that's the biggest thing for people that are our age, that they don't have the time. So I think it's like they feel like it's this all or nothing, when really it can be 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week, and you can get back to feeling like the athlete that you are.
Well, I don't know what it feels like to run down a field. I didn't do that. I sprinted like 400 meters. That was like the most,
good.
And then I ate like lots of rice cakes after. Like, I'm so hungry. But you know what is really cool, that like the analogies that just come into my head. What I think about is a conversation we had right before we started this episode. And that is, you know, as adults, what is that thing that makes us feel so relaxed? You know, for you, it's getting the massage. Like, and how long is your massage? An hour?
Yep.
50 minutes?
55 minutes.
Right?
And 85 if I've got a free day.
And that feeling of like relaxation and reprieve, how long does that last you?
Yeah, maybe a couple hours if I'm lucky. Maybe until I walk back in the house and start the next, the next commitment of the day.
And what is that worth to you? Like, it's important, right?
It's important. Yeah, it's self-care. It's everything. And those are the things you talk about, like massage. Those are the things I think you have more of an appreciation for as you get older. There's so many more elements of self-care that it's so important to put your health and yourself first so that you can take care of everybody else, for sure.
I love that. It's exactly how I feel, about a massage or a facial or something that we have as an adult. And it's funny, when you're a kid or you're an athlete or you're in high school or even college, you have all this time. And so I think everything is relative. It's the equivalent of me getting a week vacation back then is me going for a 55-minute facial today.
Absolutely.
It's things shift and change. And so I think for those people like the two of you that were used to being the athlete, they had all this time, like you look forward to the week off. Whereas now we don't have all of that time. So a 30-minute workout really does the job. Does that make sense? It's relative to the amount of time that you have and what you're committing. Like we can't go back and spend 4 hours in the gym every single day like we did in high school. We just don't have that time. So it becomes relative to the amount of time that we have. Am I making sense?
No, it makes sense. And I think that's why, though, for those former athletes who are listening to this and who may be sitting in that place where it's like, where do I go from here? Because I love training those individuals first and foremost, because when they come in, they have the skill to actually do the exercise and get it right away. Apologies to everybody else out there who's like, you're not referring to me, Mike. No, I'm not. But I have a special place in my heart for those former athletes, because I know that also once they just get a taste of the intensity, once they get a taste of feeling their body working, like you said, it's as if you remember, it's like that light switch goes off and it's like, yeah, this is what it's like. But it's also learning that now you can still pair that with the rest of your life, that it's not an all or nothing. It's not this or that. It can be this and that. And I feel like, I know that because we've had these conversations before, you had a little bit of that light bulb moment, if you will, as well, when you started training at Pure, just simply because I know you were still doing spinning classes and still trying to fit in your workout, but like you were grinding and almost having to make exercise a second job, so to speak, to keep up with everything. But how much has that changed?
So much. Just like to step back to talk about like with the athlete, how you can have both and it's not and or. I think as an adult now, you almost have to think of it's like the ripple effect of like how doing just this 30-minute workout is going to positively ripple effect out to your whole life, and sort of compare that back to like when you're an athlete and it's sort of like the center of your life and you're only worried about yourself because you're young, but it brings you so much joy. It's like you have to sort of take yourself out of that place and realize where you are now, but that can still ripple out to your family and your happiness and how much you're going to affect everyone around you. 100%. When I first started at Pure Physique, I was teaching spin, 4 days a week. I was still running a ton. I was doing my 30-minute workouts, but then also going and doing an hour of cardio or teaching spin. And it was a lot. It's like you can't keep up. And it was, like I said before, when I would do a long run, I would feel great in the moment. I'd feel great while I was teaching, but later in the day, I would need a nap. I remember a long stretch of time where being at home before the kids would get off the bus and feeling like I needed that nap, like so desperately. I was so tired. And that doesn't happen anymore because I've scaled back and I'm not tearing my body down. I feel like I'm much more building it up and in a much more balanced place with the activity.
Well, about that, when you came in, you were in phenomenal shape. Like, you are a person who obviously has kept up with themselves for a long time. And I'm sure there are some people also who are thinking, yeah, like I totally fit the mold of a Heidi. I love my workouts. This is part of who I am. My fear, though, is that if I cut back and I go from my 6 hours a week of exercise down to, say, 90 minutes, 120 minutes, I mean, it's all going to go away. And, that creates a little bit of an anxiety, especially for those of us who are maybe a little bit more vain than others. I definitely fall into that category. We sit in this place where there's like that tug of war, like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen to me? So, I mean, what's happened to you?
That's the amazing part. Nothing negative. I have not gained a single pound since dropping my extra 4 hours of cardio a week. And if anything, I think my muscle definition has improved, which is crazy. And it's crazy to me. And I 100% was afraid of dropping so much cardio coming from that mindset. And because I did enjoy it. So I always felt like I never felt like I was, while I do think I was probably a little obsessed with making sure I got it done, I did enjoy it. I definitely was fearful if I cut back, I would see some dramatic change in my physique, which has not happened, which is crazy.
I think your arms have gotten even more jacked.
Thank you.
Can you just like throw up like a, bicep? Let's like totally embarrass you. Yes, so good. It's so good. I mean, really, like you are still in phenomenal shape. I think even better shape than.
Thank you. I truly do feel better. It is amazing how much more. I feel like I have more energy. I have more the pressure of not feeling like I have to come home from work and then find the extra hour or hour and a half to do more is unbelievable. It's like, no, I just feel good. I have energy and I did what I need to do and move on to the next thing. And if it's a nice day and I feel like I want to go for a walk or something, great. I do a lot of walk running now, which my former 20-year-old self would laugh at me, but I love it.
Who are you, lady?
But I love it.
Who are you, lady?
Totally. But it feels good. And it's like, I don't feel like, again, I've said this a few times, but I don't feel like I'm tearing myself down. I feel like I'm more in tuned and listening. Corrie-Beth will oftentimes say when we're talking about food, like, how does it make you feel? I think about that a lot with exercise, like do something and then ask yourself, how does it make you feel? How do you feel after? How do you feel when you're doing it? Is it bringing you joy or pain? Sometimes the exercise is not comfortable, and in Pure Physique, we definitely like to push you, but how are you feeling afterwards? And really assessing. And again, as we age, it's like you can't do the same volume and impact. I'm in it for the long game. I want to be able to be active for a long time. I do have a grandma that's 106, and I would like to remain active as she is and be able to use my body and move in a healthy way for a long time.
I mean, what a gift.
I know your Grams is your hero, but she's my hero too. Just by the way, like we've talked about her. Geez, I mean, I think I've known of her since she was 97 or actually 96.
Yeah.
So that's how long we've been talking about her.
Yes.
Can you share, I know this is a bit more personal, but when you went up to stay with your Gram, what was it that you saw her doing in the morning? Because I think this is amazing.
Yes, she's amazing. And she is, for those of you wondering, she does still live on her own and her mind is incredibly sharp. I often say her mind, I think, is sharper than mine at times. She can tell stories from 100 years ago, literally, when I have a hard time recalling what happened yesterday sometimes. But she's incredible. But I went to visit her. This was last year, and she keeps an avid morning stretch routine. And she does have a walker, but she keeps a stretchy band, an exercise band on her walker. So when she's just sitting, she'll grab it and she'll do different exercises for her arms. But first thing in the morning, and she wakes up, she does a whole routine of stretching her legs and bend and straighten. And then she sits on the edge of the bed and she does a little side twist and she reaches her arms up over her head and she has this whole little routine, and it's amazing. And she moves quick and it's incredible. But she is such an inspiration to me because I look at her and the way she can still move her body at 106, and God bless her, because it's incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome.
And she never did high impact exercises, so she was never a runner.
Never a runner, never a CrossFitter.
No, correct.
No boot camp classes.
No.
Yeah, and major longevity.
Yes.
What was she like growing up? When you were growing up, like how do you remember her as you were growing up when you were little?
I just always remember her being active. I mean, she worked until she was 100, so just always on the move. It's like I would, if I was visiting her, she'd be planting flowers, trimming the trees, in the kitchen cooking. Like, she's never sitting still. She's always on the go. Like I said, she literally worked until she was 100. So she would get up at 5:30 in the morning and up and out of the house. And that resonates with me, as I always take the early shift for training. So I often think of her, if she could do it till she's 100, I'm not even halfway there. So
Awesome.
yes,
That's
but
great.
just active. And for many, many years, she swam every single day, and she still will swim once in a while. But for many years, it was a daily ritual. So
I love
just
that.
on the go. Yeah, just keeping the body in motion.
Back to your concept of just being time efficient and like getting to go home and not needing to take a nap. I would be totally remiss if you did not share your laundry hack that's very time efficient with our audience. I would come to Heidi and be like, how do you stay on top of the laundry, right? Like I look up to Heidi because her kids are, 3 and 7 years older than our kids. And can you please just share that with our audience?
Well, it's laundry every day, which is nothing new for any mom that is listening. But as soon as I walk into the house when I get home from work, go and grab all the laundry from all the kids' rooms and throw the load of laundry in. So every single day, it's their laundry is getting done. Not always getting folded, but it's sometimes I don't even like take my shoes off or my jacket off. I go right up, grab the laundry, throw it in. That's my genius laundry hack.
Well, the way that you positioned it to me, you were like, it's one outfit,
yes.
right? That one outfit gets washed.
Yep.
It's really easy for each kid to take one outfit,
Yep.
right? And if you
it's
have
usually
like
an
little
outfit,
kids.
it's the pajamas, it's whatever they wore to sports the night before. Yes.
I mean, that's brilliant.
But
you
it's-
fold it, you put it away, and it's done. Rather than my strategy, which was wait 10 days and
Yes,
then
and
have
have a
like
mountain.
18 loads, and then Mike gets mad that we're living out of laundry baskets for the week after.
Which we're currently doing.
What's crazy is I find if I miss one day, it seems like it's 10 days. So
Yeah.
the value of just doing it every day, I have learned is, it's priceless. It
Yeah,
really is.
it's such a good hack.
It is.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
I'm
Thank
working
you.
on it.
Well, if we could switch gears for a moment from exercise to nutrition. Yeah, I know. We've been waiting to have this conversation.
I was wondering if we were going to go here.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to go here because aside from being, the over exercising ex-athlete, although you're never an ex-athlete, you also had the same, what are you going to say, habits around nutrition.
Yes.
But you were much more resistant to training or to changing the nutrition habits.
Gosh,
Remember, you were
yes.
like, do not
Fearful. It took me years.
touch my oatmeal in the morning.
Do you not eat every 2 hours? Mike, that is ridiculous. I will pass out on the training floor.
You told me that
Yes,
before. You're like, no, I will
100%.
pass out.
I will pass out. Can't do it. I'll pass out.
What did nutrition look like? Pure physique.
It was the 6 meals, 3 meals with snacks in between. So eating every 2 to 3 hours for sure. From the moment I woke up, it was my oatmeal. And, I've always done the early shift. So that means oatmeal at 5 a.m. or 4:30. Sometimes going to teach a spin class back then. So it would be eating the oatmeal and then going and hopping on the spin bike. But that was like a non-negotiable for me. And then 2 hours later, need a snack. 2 hours later, need a snack. And it was, all quote unquote, always healthy. So it would be, yogurt, fruit, maybe a shake, always the oatmeal to start the day. Sometimes the oatmeal with peanut butter and a banana. I mean, that is like...
Carbs.
Yes, load, carb load. Definitely low fat. Never got enough protein. High carb, low fat, high carb was what I did for a long time, really, and lots of little meals.
Oh.
And I would feel like if I didn't eat like in 2 to 3 hours, I would feel my blood sugar drop. I would shaky. Oh my gosh, I have to eat something. Like we would go someplace and Vin would be like, do you have your snacks? We're not gonna be able to eat for 3 hours. Like it was.
You have your snack. You're like a little child.
Yes,
Like we have to pack
and he
Heidi's
knew,
snacks.
like make sure. Yes, 100%.
Amazing.
Yep.
Love it.
I mean, we'll just fast forward. What does today look like
So
for you?
today, time restricted eating for sure. High protein, prioritize my protein 100%. Always been good about my water intake. That didn't change. But yeah, so now it's so much easier, so much more convenient. I don't eat a oatmeal bomb in the morning that sits in your stomach like a brick. So I'm not so like rigid about timing of dinner, but I try to usually not eat after dinner. And then usually the next day I'll eat anywhere from 10 until 1, really just depending on the day. I've gone long enough now that I just try to like listen to, once I first dabbled with, the time restricted eating, it was very scary waters for me to step into. I was definitely convinced that I would pass out and possibly die. But what has happened is that the mornings are so much easier. I have my coffee. Again, don't eat until anywhere between 10 and 1, really just based on how I feel and sort of what my day is. And then I always break my fast with protein. So usually hard-boiled eggs. I like my chomps. And then from there, it's just really focusing on high protein. But I feel 1,000 times better. My blood sugars completely feels level. I feel like if I miss a meal, I'm not like shaky and panicked. I feel clear-headed and strong and stable, like I'm going to be okay. And I no longer have to pack snacks, although I do usually have a hard-boiled egg in my bag. I'm not going to lie.
That is a hack, by the way.
Yes.
Well, so the three of us flew up to Minnesota for a resistance exercise conference, and our plane was delayed. And I'm going to share your fun game we played in the airport too, because that's the best game ever. But it's funny, everyone in the airport was like, oh my God, we got to eat. And like the three of us like pulling out beef sticks.
Yep.
I mean, it was
easy.
Or just
so
not
easy.
eating at all. Like it's totally a different
Yes.
life to live where you're not dependent on that next carb-filled mood.
100%. And I think I was constantly
Food
eating
mood.
the carb, burning the carb, eat the carb, cardio and carbs. Like it was total, this vicious cycle. And I can't believe like I was resistant to it. And what a difference. What a difference.
Well, share the game before. I have something else to say, but share Heidi's game.
So Heidi's game is amazing. And if you've ever been in a difficult situation, oftentimes we can I forget the word that I'm looking for, but like we make it so much worse than it is, especially when you're in an airport. Someone starts tapping their foot and someone else gets annoyed. Like it spreads like a ripple effect of negativity. So we're there in the airport. Everyone's annoyed. And Heidi's like, you want to play a game? I'm like, sure, let's play a game. She goes, what are 3 things that would make this worse right now? So we start talking back and forth. And I don't know if you specifically remember the 3 things because I'll never forget them. And
I always remember one because it's my go-to and you can't think of a third thing. I don't know if you're going to share that or not, but
I'll share the first one.
This game, listeners, works across the board. Like across the board, anything in your life from a flat tire to a catastrophic, horrible event. Like think of 3 things to bring perspective back.
Yeah, so she goes, what are 3 things that would make this flight delay worse? And I was like, ooh, that's a good thought. I'm like, there's no roof on the airport. And she's like, yeah, that's a good one. And then what did you say?
Do I have to really say it?
Yeah, I think you got to say it.
If you don't say it, I'll say it for you.
You can say it, Mike.
That and having explosive diarrhea.
Explosive
Fact.
diarrhea makes everything worse.
Fact. Any
Yeah.
situation in your life that will make it worse. Hands down.
I think it was no roof on the airport. It was raining. And you had explosive diarrhea. And all of a sudden it was like, this
Suddenly,
delay is
yeah.
fine.
It's not
Walk in
so
the park,
bad.
this delay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's a great game. I like playing it with our kids. So I
it's a
always
good-
credit that game back to you. It's a good one.
Thank you.
Well, what I want to just close with is, and I've never said this to you, never said it to you, but probably the biggest transformation that I've ever seen that I'm most proud of is Heidi's. And
Thank you.
And I'm saying that because you were so resistant, so bullheaded, so stubborn, and I could resonate with you.
Wait, this was supposed to be a compliment.
That is a compliment.
This is
That's
a
growth.
compliment.
That is growth.
And that's exactly it. That's the word right there, because I have not come across anyone, whether in our organization or a former client, that really took to heart our core value of personal growth, which in it we say that it's either grow or die, and that sometimes you're going to have to work outside your comfort zone. And you have always been willing to take that step and work outside of your comfort zone, maybe a little resistant at first.
Mm-hmm.
I remember some
Always a
early
little
conversations,
resistant.
but eventually you would do it. And it's not because you did it and now, you follow 3 workouts a week for 30 minutes. You're kind of carnivore-ish now. You time restrict eat.
Yeah.
But it's not because of that. It's just that you've literally always stepped up to the plate and said, you know what, I will at least give it a try. And then you always kind of find your own spin on things, which I think is amazing. But yeah, that is the transformation, if you will, that I've always been most impressed by.
And you didn't think you
Thank
had a
you.
transformation story.
All right. Thank you.
You got the best one.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I
Yep.
appreciate you guys for always pushing me. And, the education I've received up here, Physique, has been bar none. I always say, college was great, but I think I learned more. I've learned more in my last 10 years at Pure Physique than I did with my master's degree. And that's the God's honest truth. So thank you for all I've learned. And my growth wouldn't have happened if I didn't walk through those doors. Thank you.
It was I'm like getting choked up. It was such a pleasure to finally have this conversation with you. I know it's one that we've wanted to have for quite some time. We love spending time with you professionally and personally. It's so much fun to go out to dinner, the 4 of us together. It's an honor. And the biggest question is, would you come back and talk a little bit more business with us next time?
I would love to. Anytime.
Excellent. Well, we are going to make that happen for
We
sure.
will. And you know what I would love is, as the athlete, what is one piece of advice that you would want to leave someone else who's like you?
I mean, I'll circle back to just make your health, your fitness, and your time spent, in sport, however you define that, non-negotiable in your life. Don't lose that. Like, let yourself prioritize time for yourself.
Love it. Well, thank you, Heidi, so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you.
We can't wait to have you back again.
Thank you very much.